USC football celebrated Fan Appreciation Day over the weekend. They celebrated with another recruiting commitment. Tight end Jace Cannon, he pledged his allegiance to USC. That means the Trojans class of 2027 is now up to 10 commitments, and that means the clock is ticking for the remaining spots to get to 17.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Locked On USC, another week of the Locked On Network. I'm your credentialed media member, Marc Kulkin. When I'm not here at Locked On USC, I'm over there at wearesc.com writing some articles. That is Marvin Powell III, former starting USC fullback, NFL veteran, multimedia star. He's writing articles as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, if you can bet just $5 and you bet your bet wins, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets. So head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. Okay. We knew there was not going to be a spring game for the fans to show up, show their appreciation for the football program. However, Marvin, over the weekend, 1 week after spring camp ended, USC football celebrated with the fan base. They had their Fan Appreciation Day. A few thousand fans showed up, or we'll call it a meet and greet, up there by the McKay Center, Heritage Hall, Brittingham Field that separates from Locher Stadium, the track stadium. It was a chance for the Trojan family to, take pictures, get some autographs, sign with their favorite paraphernalia. I mean, everything. Footballs, pictures, jerseys, bobbleheads, you name it. All in all, it was a really great day to spend part of the day. They capped it off. You had the Swim with Mike charity event. You know all about that, Marvin.
Yeah, we did that when I was in school as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Boat, jumping off the high dive. Literally, the only thing that was missing was the In-N-Out food truck, those victory dog vendors, hot dog. That would have made it a perfect day. By the end of the afternoon, USC's 2027 recruiting class, it was one player deeper. Jace Cannon, the tight end from Junipero High School up there in San Mateo, California. It basically came down to USC was recruiting three guys, Marvin. You had Charles Davis, who actually picked Cal over UCLA and Oregon, Rosario Edwards, another guy from Northern California, and Jace Cannon. Cannon picked USC on Saturday. 6'5", 210 pounds. Marvin, what is your take on Jace Cannon? I know I've been talking a whole bunch here to begin with. What's your take on why USC picked him when they had, obviously, Charles Davis? They kind of said, we need somebody a little bit more in the tight end role. What's your take on the whole situation?
Well, listen, from what I heard about this guy, man, he goes up and gets it. I mean, he's a mismatch nightmare, and that's what you want. I mean, whether it's because of his size, ability to jump in the air, speed, athletic ability, you want to create as many mismatches as possible out there. If we got, this guy's 6'5", I mean, listen, you're talking about elite size, elite ability to go up and get the ball at the highest point. I mean, you got him at the Y. You got guys at the right guy, Trent Mosley, these guys at the slot. You get, KDW, guys like that at the receiver with the speed of Booby. And then you got, you just got so many mismatches out there, just different caliber of threats, different kind of threats. And that's what makes you dangerous out there. You know what I'm saying? As an offense, it makes you impossible to defend when you have these caliber athletes lined up all over the field. So, yeah, I was happy to get him. I saw a lot of his stuff when he was before he had committed. I know he's the one that we were high on, and it makes sense. I mean, we're rolling right now. I mean, this is our time. Chad and Lincoln got this thing on the right trend, on the right path. So yeah, these guys are jumping on. It makes sense. Momentum's a real thing. Kids see this stuff and they start seeing it and smelling it. That's a real thing. These kids is talking. They're realizing that last year was a big class. This is not going to be a big class. You got to lock in now because you don't know what kind of opportunity is going to be there in the fall. So yeah, this is a high caliber kid. From my perspective, big upside. Like a guy, big tight end, big ability. Probably raw in many areas, but huge upside, and that's what you want.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of upside. Right now, I think you would categorize him more of a flex tight end, pass catcher, but he's also a guy who's got the frame that you could put some weight on him get him closer to that, to the end of the line and turn him into a blocking type of tight end as well, that doing the down and dirty type of work. He's also fearless. If you go on YouTube, you can find videos of this guy. He's a big into mountain biking, the dirt biking type of stuff. Dude's doing flips. I mean, someone his size, that type of athleticism, I like that at my tight end.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want, man. We're at the point now where all these kids see us. USC recruiting is shining very bright. You're hearing the reports about the kids, the freshmen who had great spring camps. So, we saw them, come in here as big time elite athletes, and we saw them able to compete, against our defense and against the other players in the room. So, yeah, man, this is what it looks like when you got recruiter momentum.
A little bit of a two-part question here. So it kind of feels like it's first come, first served in this 2027 cycle. You've been alluding to that. I guess number one, is that the best way to fill the class? I mean, if USC is pursuing recruits, pushing them to commit, it's because they obviously value they obviously value that recruit. But should Riley and Chad Bowden maybe slow down and see how their senior film starts to look, especially since the limited number of spots available are at such a premium? Or should they just say, screw it, let's fill it up and move on?
Yeah. With the internet being what it is and these kids being looked at since they were in middle school and the film of these kids being out there since they were so young, and then you combine that with all the on-campus visits these guys are doing and all the interactions, on campus with the coaches and the other players, the reality is the coaches know exactly the caliber of athletes that they're getting. These are they're in high school, so these are raw athletes. And once you see a raw athlete and you see he got that dog in him, I mean, you can look at film from freshman, sophomore, junior year. You can look at them when they come to the school and they stand next to you and you size them up. You hear what they're talking about and what's on their mind when you're having these conversations with them. You're watching the film and you're seeing these guys. Some of them play on elite teams, some of them don't. But you can still see, guys who got talent. So, I don't think they need to wait for anything. They know what these kids already are. Everybody knows what these kids are already. And if we don't go after them and be aggressive, they will at Notre Dame, and they will at Texas, and they will at LSU. So it's the kids who are especially at home. We got to go ahead and get them. I don't think there's any such thing about, holding off and waiting. Yeah, you're going to have a couple kids who have, great senior years who you didn't catch or you didn't see as a junior, you didn't look at. But that's few and far. I mean, at the end of the day, I think these guys have already shown they're doing this at an elite level. So whatever their system is, whatever their process is, I trust it. And if they want to offer a kid, after seeing whether it's Jakeem Stewart, who only played like 10 high school games, or if whoever it is, they know what they looking at. They know what it's supposed to look like. They know what it looks like. So if a dog gonna bite, he'll do it when he's a puppy. And when you see these young kids, making certain plays, out there in track running certain times, and you're able to see, it show up on a high school film a little bit. Go get that young talent and come to SC so we can develop it.
Yeah. And look, it's kind of putting the pressure on the recruits. They know that USC has limited spots available. They also know USC wants them, but USC is not going to wait around because they have options, and it's giving them a chance to be selective. Yeah, which is interesting. This is going to carry over into the next segment. There's one position that's being recruited, but it's kind of quiet right now. Again, we'll talk about that in the second segment. Quarterback. We're not talking about that, and why is the question. But before we transition into segment 2, real quick, I want to give a shout out to everyone of the everydayers who showed up at Fan Appreciation Day, came over, introduced themselves, said hello. There's way too many names to mention, so I don't want to forget anyone, so I'm not going to try and remember everyone who I spoke to. However, I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you. It's a humbling experience. Guys, I do it for you. You coming up to me and saying, hey, Marc, I love the show. I love when you're on there with Marvin. Trust me, it's humbling. It's hard for me to take a compliment because I feel like I'm just one of you. So again, thank you. So thank you very much. That's all I can say about that. I did tell one of the viewers that I might consider a fan roundtable episode this summer. So Again, I did take the suggestion. I'm thinking about it. Sounds really good. I also do want to say, I do want to mention one name, Dominic Martinez. You run Annenberg over there. I'm going to take you up on that offer. So thank you very much. Marvin, you and I in the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about recruiting. I mentioned we haven't really talked about the quarterback position, and I find that a little ironic considering USC's head coach. That's coming up next. And then the third segment, how are we going to keep players happy? All that on this episode of Locked On USC. The NBA playoffs are literally almost here. Whether it's where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. And for you first timers, how about this for a return on your bet? If you can bet just $5 and your bet wins, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets. That's a great return on your investment. And I love how easy the app is to navigate. The FanDuel app makes it really easy to follow the action, all the player stats, the trends, all the matchups, all in one place. It just makes the entire playoff experience that more engaging from start to finish. For all of us Laker fans, yep, even me, you want to take a long shot on the Lakers to win it all. Right now, they're plus 40,000. So you got some extra coin, make that bet, get a nice return on that investment. Head on over to FanDuel.com. You can make that happen there. Get started. FanDuel, play your game. Once again, thank you to all of my Locked On USC everydayers. Thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you're listening to this show on your favorite podcast platform, you want to do it ad-free without any interruptions, head on over to the show's description page and click on that link. You can get your first month free. Okay, Marvin, MVP 3. Essentially, we've got 6 spots left in this class. Maybe they add another 1 or 2, depending on what happens with the 2026 roster at the end of the year. They get some wind that, hey, there's going to be some spots opening up. We'll find out then. But assuming that the wide receiver room is done, Roy Oliver, class of 2028, he's reclassifying to 2027. It's just a matter of when that happens, not if it happens. Same thing with the cornerback class. Filled. We're done. So assuming that USC's at 11 with Roy Oliver, that leaves there 6 spots left if 17 is that magic number. Marvin, you're in charge. How should those 6 spots be divvied up? Where are you allocating them?
Well, you said, I've been wondering about our scholarship quarterback room. I've been wondering, like, we got Jaden. Okay, I know he's straight. We got our guy out of Illinois. We got Jonas. Right. From everything that I hear, we feel very good about that.
Sure.
And then we have the kid who did the fake punt. We have him on scholarship, but who else do we got? No, seriously, I don't know who else we have, and that's concerning to me.
Yeah, Jaden and Sam Heward will not be on the roster in 2027. Right. So that leaves Jonas Williams, and that is my question.
Yeah.
Why is everything so quiet on the quarterback front, so to speak?
Well, I think
what are they going to do?
Yeah, listen. So as you see that they make this commitment to go in and start at the high school level and build from the ground up, which I think is the way to go. But I'm also wondering, maybe Lincoln is eyeing some guys in the portal for the. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
2 guys.
It's weird, Marc. It's weird. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's weird. I trust they have a plan. I trust they have some type of contingency. I trust that maybe this summer they're going to hit the portal and get a guy or 2 just for depth reasons. I don't know, but I feel like everybody should have X amount of scholarship quarterbacks just on the roster. You know what I mean? And we don't.
Here's the plan. I can tell you this. So we will probably have some names to talk about in the near future. I believe on the 15th is when the coaches can hit the road again. Luke Heward, who is and I'm using finger quotes, the quarterback coach at USC. Yeah. And I say that because everybody knows that Lincoln Riley is the quarterback guru. Luke Heward knows his job. He knows how to develop quarterbacks. With that being said, he's going to probably get out there and see anywhere from 10 to 15 quarterbacks, try and get some names together. So we will be talking about guys. But I find it just really interesting that at this point, we're in April. we really don't have anybody, at the top of the list that Lincoln Riley's focused on. And he being the guy who, creates quarterbacks for the NFL, I find that a little ironic. So my question to you again, Marvin, we have to get one quarterback in this class. That's a given.
Yeah.
You got 5. I'm going to give you 6 more spots. How are you going to divvy that up? What positions would you divide those up?
All right. So, I know we have a bunch of O-linemen. You play 5 of those guys. I feel like you can never have too many of those, but I feel like we have a good number. I feel like we got some tight ends on deck. We just mentioned one who just signed, who just committed. Then I go to D-line. D-line was the area last year where we had some concerns. I feel like we've addressed that. I think we're going to have some impact freshmen. And I think the guys we have coming back who played last year, I think those guys are going to be impact guys. And I like what we did in the portal, especially the guy out of Michigan State. I like our corners. I do. I know we have some guys injured, but I think we have numbers. I like them there. I'd probably look at our linebackers and our safeties, to be honest with you. That's probably where, there's probably the most question. Christian Pierce is coming off of injury, surgery. Kennedy Urlacher played okay at the end of the year. He played physical. He looks like a potential player. I saw flashes with Desmond in the last game. But, the linebacker position is where, we're looking for difference makers. We need leaders, guys who are going to fill that gap, Big Ten style. So to me, the position I'm looking at is going to be linebacker and safety. That's probably where I'd look to add, just because I think there's so many questions there. And that's just, I don't feel like we have, even if we have bodies, I don't know if we have, and probably more linebacker than safety as I kind of talk and think through it. But we'll see what Devin Bryant does, a kid out of Washington, if I got his name right. The linebacker is a question. Linebacker is where I think, the infusion of new players would be appreciated the most, Mark. What do you think? Yeah,
so I'm with you. I got in the class, I would like to see them bring in at least one more safety.
Yeah.
You got Hunter Falave Johnson. He's the big name. But I know they're still looking at, a couple others. Definitely at least one linebacker in this class. You brought in Talanoa Ely and Taylor Johnson in the 2026 cycle. I think you should bring in at least one in 2027. We spoke about a quarterback, definitely there. I think you got to have, so if we're going with 6, you got a quarterback, a safety, a linebacker, one more offensive lineman, and 2 more defensive linemen, an edge and an interior. And then I think you got your 17, 18 guys in the class. So that's how I would round it off. If it was up to me.
And if you really want to make me happy, Lincoln Riley, go ahead and get you a good old fullback so we can get out there and run student body right when we need to run it with a real fullback, not a big tight end, but a fullback. But I don't think that's happening.
All right, here's another question for you. We'll end this segment on this one. I just mentioned USC should definitely get at least one more interior defensive lineman. Let's say that USC isn't able to convince Marcus Facato, the interior defensive lineman from Orange Lutheran, to stay home to come to USC. Should Lincoln Riley and Chad Bowden settle for more of a developmental type of guy, or just wait for the portal in December? In other words, continue to be selective. Just don't fill a space with a body.
Well, if we don't get the kid out of Lutheran, I would say I'm sure they have other players on that list. And with the NIL bag that we have, we can go super player from Penn State, from Michigan, from Ohio State. There are other players out there that we can throw a bag at, fly out to Cali, let them see these palm trees, taking them in and out, let them walk up Hollywood Boulevard, blow their minds with that whole scene, right? Take them to the beach somewhere in Malibu, let them see what the ocean look like. There are kids out there for us to go get if we can't get him. So, I think right now USC is getting whoever they want to get. And I'm not being egotistical, I'm not being arrogant, I'm being honest. I think they finally have put together the right pitch to how to pitch the city, the program, the future, NIL, the academics. I think Chad really understands that pitch based upon the results. So I think if we miss out on Marcus, I think there are other guys we can go snag.
Oh, there's plenty of guys to snag, and I can already think of a few.
Yeah.
off the top of my head that are playing at other programs that are from Southern California that would fit in really well. There's one at Ohio State. But again, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to, get involved in any of that type of stuff.
Mark, right now, based on everything, the only thing we got to do now is win games.
Yes.
Because finally, I can. Everything else is set up. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything else is set. These dudes have set everything up right. It looked, all the pieces, all the elements that you need to compete, to be a champion, all these things are setting up. It's real. It's not fugazi. It's not fool's gold. Like, it's real. Now we got to go out there and win games. You know what I mean? So that's it, Mark. That's the last piece of it, And we have the coaching. I think we have the coaching. I think we have the players. So I think we have all the pieces in place to really feel optimistic, to feel justifiably optimistic about going to win some games. So
win some games and making sure you maintain the roster integrity. And that's something we're going to talk about in the next segment. So like you said, USC, they're having a great time with recruiting right now. That means you're bringing in elite players. That means you're going to have elite players who are playing backup roles. How do you keep those players happy? We're going to talk about that in the next segment that's coming up. It's tax time, and for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, it's a lot. You're trying to book an appointment, and that's not really convenient. You're sitting in the waiting room, you got a stack of papers, you're emailing back and forth, and you're wondering, does that person really understand my situation? But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents are going to get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app right there on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled the right way. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. All right, MVP, we've been talking about USC's recruiting successes. You can never have too much of a good thing, right? Iron sharpens iron, yada, yada, yada. However, how does Lincoln Riley and Chad Bowden, to a lesser extent, maybe to a higher extent, how do you keep your high-profile backups motivated in the NIL era? How do you keep them saying, you know what, I'm going to keep working, I'm going to stay at USC, I'm going to finish what I started, when that transfer portal is just saying, hey, come on over here, I can get you this much more money.
Yeah. Listen, listen, our backups face the same problems and confusion and issues that, a lot of their parents face, when looking at other jobs and other companies, and hey, there's a job over there that does this. That's just embedded in our culture to go get more, to leave where you're at for other opportunities. The kids have watched the adults and their parents do it for years. And it's a normal thing to leave where you're at to go do something else. The difference here, obviously, is we're talking about, a long-term vision, and we're talking about, development, by elite level coaches. And we're talking about the benefit of graduating from a school like USC and being a USC alum and what that really means out in the workforce as you're networking. It's the package, man. You're selling the whole package. But you're right. This is money talks, man. These kids, these is businessmen. You know what I'm saying? That they're businessmen / student athletes. Numbers matter. It is what it is. So how do you keep them in? You just got to build value and just hope that you're connecting to the right things inside of these dudes. But again, the true American capitalist may take over, and these kids may just say, you know something, I can get a degree from that school and get paid from that school, so they're going to give me more money, less taxes, I'm going to go. We're going to deal with that. That just is what it is, Mark. I'm not even, if we can keep the majority of them, if we can hit on the right guys, because the right guys are going to, we're going to have guys that develop and guys who come in and they play immediately. You know what I'm saying? You get two different type of players, you know what I'm saying? So, we're going to get both, and you're going to have guys who kind of, fall by the wayside. So, Mark, we're going to lose guys, man. It is what it is, but hopefully these guys see enough value in the entire program and the whole pitch. I mean, again, being in that city, networking in that city, graduating from that school. We're talking about a top 25 academic school, not just a football school. That matters.
Right.
We're on the same list as Ivy League schools when they talk about the top 25 academically. So that's every school can't say that. Some Big Ten schools can, because the Big Ten is an academic conference. People don't want to talk about that, but it is, as much as it's a football conference, it's a major academic conference. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot, man, going on at SC. So many reasons to stay, but at the end of the day, these kids are taught as Americans, we're taught to love money. Go get the money. They've been hearing it since. Go get the bag. Chase the bag. That's what it comes down to. Cash over everything. So I don't trip, Mark. I don't get emotional when these dudes do that. Hopefully, but I hope they can see the value, because even for the backups, I would bet they're getting a pretty nice penny.
Yeah, I mean, even the back. Look, if I know they've got that revenue sharing that you have to split amongst all of your student athletes. I get that.
Yeah,
pretty much everybody on the roster is making some sort of good coin. They have to put some rules in place, though. That's why I think what they've been talking about, 5 years.
Your president just signed an executive order, and he's talking about they got to stay. They only get 5 years and one transfer. So
right. Here's something else. All of a sudden, let's start making them spend some of that money they're being given. All right. Pay for your own scholarship. Pay for your own room and board. Does that stem the tide a little bit?
Nah, because I don't think we do that, Mark. Mark. Nah, you don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. The school.
Look, it wouldn't help USC. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But you've got to start doing something. You got to start thinking outside the box, because right now,
you know what helps this, Mark? Winning. And these kids are committing to come to a school that's up and coming, and we are. When you look at what Lincoln's been doing, it's up and coming. We're coming off again, undefeated at home, all this other stuff. Our program has momentum, but now the next step in the momentum is winning games. Like I've been saying, that's what it's about. And I think when we get out there and we win playoff games and we beat elite teams in the playoffs, and we get to the Final Four and we get to the championship game and win the championship game, and these kids realize that is now, that's not just the vision, that's the reality now. That's going to have kids inclined to want to stay, because they're going to know they're up next. I'm going to stick around because next year this dude's leaving. I'm going to be a dude getting those 1 and 2 reps. So, winning's going to fix so much of this for us. It is. It's going to fix so much of it. And help so much of it.
I agree with you 100%. Winning is the cure-all. The other cure-all is getting the players on the field as much as possible. There's no such thing as a red shirt anymore unless you're an offensive lineman or quarterback. Very rarely are freshmen going to be redshirted anymore, because of the mobility factor that you and I have just been talking about, being able to transfer. So, I think programs are going to be hesitant to want to put, invest too many resources into players if they start, getting the idea like, all right, well, they're here as a stepping stone to go get more money somewhere else. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Programs that are successful, Ohio State, they've been able to keep most of their players from leaving. Same thing at Georgia. Like you said, winning cures all.
They're winning. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So
let's see if USC can get on that winning side of the ledger. Let's see if they can get to double-digit wins, get to the playoffs. That will change a lot. All right, Marvin, that's it for the show, man. That's how quickly it goes. But we're going to be here all week. Inside the Trojan Huddle will be around later this week. Me and some of the other media will be meeting with the assistant coaches on Tuesday, April the 14th, which means we're going to be able to hear from them about the linebackers and the defensive line and how good the offense is going to be. We talk about that all week. Marvin, if he's available, he'll be back on the show as well. So again, thank you everybody for making Locked On USC your first listen. Until that next episode tomorrow, you know what to do.